There comes a moment in life when something within you begins to shift, quietly but undeniably. You cannot always explain it, but you can feel it. The way you once moved through life starts to feel different, as if an old version of you is slowly fading, while something deeper is coming forward. This is not confusion, and it is not loss. It is awakening. One of the first signs is that you begin to outgrow things that once felt important. The noise of the world, the need for constant stimulation, and the chase for external approval start to feel heavier than before. What once excited you no longer holds the same power, because your awareness is expanding beyond surface level satisfaction. Another sign is that your emotional reactions begin to soften. Situations that used to trigger you deeply now feel less controlling. You still feel, but you are no longer consumed by every emotion that passes through you. There is a space forming between stimulus and response, and in that space, clarity begins to grow. You also start to feel a natural pull towards solitude, not as escape, but as return. In silence, you begin to hear yourself more clearly. The answers you once searched for outside begin to emerge from within. This inner listening becomes more valuable than external opinions because it feels more truthful, more aligned. As your soul rises, your values begin to change. Temporary pleasures lose their dominance, and a deeper desire for meaning takes their place. You no longer want just to feel good. You want to feel aligned. You start questioning how you live, what you contribute, and whether your actions reflect your deeper self. And perhaps the most powerful sign is a quiet inner strength that grows without effort. You stop needing constant reassurance. You begin trusting your path, even when it is uncertain. There is a steady knowing within you that you are moving towards something greater. Even if you cannot yet see its final shape, there comes a stage in inner growth where the world outside slowly starts to lose its control over your mind. The noise of opinions, expectations, judgments, and endless distractions is still present, but something within you begins to change. You no longer feel pulled in every direction. Instead, there is a subtle space forming inside you, a quiet awareness that observes everything without becoming lost in it. This is inner stillness becoming louder than external noise. At first, it may feel unusual. You might notice that situations which once triggered emotional reactions now pass through you without disturbance. Conversations that used to drain your energy begin to feel distant, almost irrelevant. The need to respond immediately, to defend yourself, to prove your point, slowly fades away. In its place, there is silence, not empty silence, but a living, conscious presence that allows you to pause before reacting. In this stillness, you begin to hear yourself more clearly. Your thoughts become less chaotic, your decisions more intentional. You are no longer constantly seeking validation from outside because something within you is beginning to feel enough. Even in crowded spaces, your awareness remains grounded. Even in moments of uncertainty, there is a quiet center that does not collapse. This does not mean the world becomes silent. It means your relationship with noise changes. External circumstances may remain the same, but your internal response transforms. You stop absorbing everything around you. Instead, you witness it, and in witnessing, you gain freedom. The more you rest in this inner stillness, the less power external noise holds over you. You begin to realize that peace was never something to be found outside. It was always something waiting to be uncovered within, beneath layers of mental restlessness and emotional attachment, revealing itself as a natural state of being that was never truly lost there. Is a profound shift that happens when you begin to understand that not everything in life is meant to be controlled. At first, the instinct is always to push, to fix, to manipulate circumstances so they match your expectations. You try harder, think more, plan endlessly, believing that effort alone will shape reality in your favor. But over time, something inside starts to soften. You begin to notice that forcing outcomes often brings more resistance than results, more exhaustion than fulfillment. Letting go does not mean giving up. It means stepping out of the constant struggle against what is unfolding naturally. It is the quiet realization that life has its own timing, its own intelligence, and its own way of aligning things without your interference. When you stop gripping so tightly to how things should be, you create space for how things could be. In this space, anxiety begins to dissolve. The urgency to control every detail slowly fades. You no longer feel the need to chase every outcome with desperation. Instead, you begin to trust the process, even when it is uncertain. There is a subtle peace in accepting that not everything requires your constant effort to function. You also start noticing how much energy was previously spent on resistance. Emotional exhaustion often comes not from life itself, but from trying to force life into a direction it is not taking. When you release that resistance, clarity emerges, decisions feel lighter, choices feel more intuitive. Relationships become less strained. Letting go creates room for alignment. What is meant for you no longer feels like something you must chase, but something that naturally moves toward you. And what is not meant for you begins to fall away without struggle. In this flow, life stops feeling like a battle and starts feeling like a rhythm you are learning to move with rather than against. There is a natural instinct within every human being to avoid discomfort. The moment something feels uncertain, painful, or unfamiliar, the mind immediately labels it as something wrong, something to escape from. Yet as awareness deepens, you begin to see discomfort through a different lens. It is no longer a signal of danger, but a signal of growth. What once felt like an enemy slowly transforms into a teacher, guiding you toward deeper understanding. Discomfort often appears when you are being stretched beyond your current limitations. It shows up when old identities are dissolving and new ones are not yet formed. In these moments, the mind resists because it prefers stability over transformation. But beneath that resistance lies an opportunity to expand. Every uncomfortable emotion, every uncertain phase, carries within it a message that something within you is evolving. Instead of immediately reacting or trying to escape, you begin to observe. You sit with the feeling rather than suppressing it. You notice how discomfort rises, peaks, and eventually shifts when it is fully acknowledged. In this observation, fear loses its intensity. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable, even insightful. You also start realizing that many of your strongest lessons came through moments you once wished to avoid. Rejection teaches clarity. Failure builds resilience. Uncertainty develops trust. Emotional pain deepens self-awareness. Each experience that challenged you was not against you, but shaping you in ways comfort never could. As this understanding grows, your relationship with discomfort changes completely. You stop resisting it with panic and start listening to it with curiosity. It becomes a mirror reflecting where growth is needed, where attachment still exists, where courage is required. Instead of shutting down, you open up. Instead of running, you stay present. In that presence, discomfort no longer feels like suffering, but like an unfolding process guiding you toward expansion you were not previously willing to enter. There is a noticeable transformation. That happens when reactions begin to slow down. Where there once was immediate emotional response, there is now a pause. That pause may be small at first, almost unnoticeable, but it changes everything. Instead of being pulled instantly into anger, excitement, fear, or judgment, there is a moment of space where you simply observe what is happening. In that space, awareness begins to rise. Slowing down your reactions does not mean you feel less. It means you are no longer controlled by what you feel. Emotions still arise, but they no longer dictate your behavior instantly. You begin to witness your thoughts as they form rather than becoming trapped inside them. This shift creates a deeper clarity because you are no longer responding from impulse but from understanding. As awareness increases, you start noticing patterns within yourself. You see how certain situations trigger the same emotional cycles. You recognize how often the mind exaggerates problems or assumes outcomes that are not real. This recognition alone begins to dissolve unconscious reactions. The more you see, the less you are controlled. In daily life, this change feels subtle but powerful. Conversations become more intentional. Decisions feel less chaotic. Even in stressful moments, there is a center within you that remains steady. Instead of reacting instantly, you respond with presence. That response carries more wisdom because it is not driven by noise but by clarity. This growing awareness also deepens your understanding of others. When you are not reacting impulsively, you begin to listen more fully. You see beyond words into emotions, intentions, and unspoken layers. Judgment softens, patience expands. Over time, this slowing of reaction becomes a natural state. You are no longer constantly entangled in every stimulus around you. Life continues to move, situations continue to change, but your inner space remains grounded. Awareness becomes the foundation, and reactions no longer define your experience of reality. There comes a point in inner growth when the things that once brought instant satisfaction begin to lose their hold over you. The chase for constant pleasure, distraction, and temporary excitement no longer feels fulfilling in the same way. Instead, there is a quiet shift happening within your awareness. You begin to feel drawn towards something deeper, something more meaningful that cannot be measured by momentary enjoyment. This is the pull toward purpose. At first, it is subtle. You may not even recognize it as purpose. It shows up as dissatisfaction with repetition, a sense that your energy is being wasted on things that do not contribute to your growth. Activities that once filled your time now feel empty after they end. Even in moments of pleasure, there is a lingering sense that something is missing, something more aligned with who you are becoming. As this feeling strengthens, your priorities begin to change naturally. You start questioning how you spend your time, where your energy goes, and what truly matters in the long run. The desire for instant gratification slowly takes a back seat as a deeper curiosity emerges. You want to create, to understand, to contribute, to build something that extends beyond temporary satisfaction. This shift does not mean pleasure disappears from your life. It simply no longer leads your direction. Instead, it becomes secondary to meaning. You begin to notice that fulfillment lasts longer when it is connected to purpose rather than fleeting enjoyment. Even challenges start to feel different, as they become part of a larger journey rather than obstacles to comfort. The pull toward purpose brings a quiet sense of direction. It does not force you or pressure you, but gently guides you toward alignment. You begin to feel that your actions carry more weight, your choices carry more meaning, and your existence is connected to something greater than immediate gratification. There is a turning point in inner awareness where the need for external approval begins to lose its grip. Where once opinions of others shaped your sense of worth, now something quieter starts to emerge within you. You begin to realize that constantly seeking validation outside creates instability, because external acceptance is always changing, always conditional, always dependent on factors beyond your control. This realization slowly redirects your attention inward. At first, this shift feels unfamiliar. You may notice that praise no longer excites you the way it once did, and criticism no longer disturbs you as deeply. Instead of measuring yourself through others' perceptions, you begin to observe your own inner state. You start asking deeper questions, not about how you appear to the world, but about what feels authentic within you. As this inner seeking grows, you develop a stronger connection with your own truth. You become more aware of your intentions, your values, and your internal compass. Decisions begin to feel less about pleasing others and more about alignment with what resonates deeply inside. This does not mean you disconnect from the world, but rather that your foundation is no longer dependent on it. The desire for validation gradually fades as self-awareness strengthens. You no longer feel the same urgency to be understood by everyone. Instead, you become more selective with where you place your energy. Silence becomes comfortable. Solitude becomes meaningful. In those quieter moments, clarity arises that external noise could never provide. Seeking truth within brings a different kind of stability. It is not built on approval or recognition, but on understanding your own consciousness. You begin to trust your inner perception more than outside interpretation. Even when the world is uncertain or conflicting, there is a steady presence inside that does not shift with opinions. This inner anchoring becomes the source from which you move through life, no longer chasing validation, but living in alignment with what you know to be real within yourself.